Motor vehicle accidents create numerous challenges for today's responders. It is our job to keep ourselves safe, our fellow responders safe, while addressing the needs of the patient or patients trapped in the vehicle. As you watch this video, keep in mind that these are controlled situations. It is important to realize in the real world, there are countless variables. Each situation is unique, which may require the rescuer to adjust on scene. Vehicles can be found in the most precarious of situations. This DVD series will give you a foundation in extrication and an understanding of the extrication process.
We will look at vehicle construction, motive power, vehicle safety systems, the operational cycle, scene management, patient considerations, stabilization, glass management, extrication equipment, and extrication techniques. On this DVD, the second in the series, we will be discussing in detail the operational cycle, scene management, patient considerations, stabilization, and glass management. Let's take a look at our overall operational cycle at the MVC. The basic operation cycle includes the following steps: size up and scene management, hazard identification and control, vehicle stabilization and glass management, patient management, extrication evolutions, and return to service. Let's take a closer look at each step in the operational cycle. Size up and scene management. Size up and scene management is the first thing we do. It is also a continuous process during the entire event. We must have a continuous evaluation of the incident to monitor any changes or issues that come up. Every incident is different, and thus different steps may be required to address the motor vehicle collision, or MVC. It is important that an officer takes charge and manages the incident to provide accountability and to develop a sustained plan of action. Just like a house fire, freelancing during an MVC is inappropriate and dangerous. Hazard identification and control. At just about every incident, hazards are present. It is important to identify and control those hazards as soon as possible. This is also an ongoing process. As we perform extraction evolutions on the vehicle to disentangle the occupants, we create additional hazards that need to be controlled. It is important to note that at times, we may need to call in extra companies to assist in hazard control if the hazard is unusual or requires extra personnel to control. Vehicle stabilization and glass management. Next, we want to control any unwanted movement of the vehicles involved through the vehicle stabilization. This helps to secure the vehicle and creates a safer platform for the rescuers to perform any extrication evolutions. At the same time, we perform glass management. This is the removal of glass in the vehicle to create access to begin patient management. It is also important to perform glass management prior to any tool evolution. This helps mitigate any glass issues. During accidents, glass can become compressed and practically explode when it breaks. It is better to do this ourselves and control the outcome than have it happen when we do not expect it. Patient management. It is important to begin patient management as soon as possible. We are responsible for assessing and caring for the patient and eventually transporting them to an appropriate facility for care. Assessing the patient early will help guide our extrication efforts and helps us determine the urgency of the situation. Extrication evolutions. This is simply the creation of a path to remove the patient. There are standard evolutions that work on most vehicles, but before performing an evolution, it is important to assess if that specific evolution is the safest, most efficient, and whether it provides the greatest chance of success. Sometimes rescuers have no choice, but usually you do. Return to service. At the end of every incident, it's important to evaluate incident performance, check all gear for proper use, refill and repair any equipment used, restock appropriate supplies, and put the units back into service at or above the level of readiness before the incident. These steps are performed at every motor vehicle crash we respond to. In order to save precious time on scene, it is important to facilitate simultaneous operations and efficient communications. We need to strive to achieve simultaneous operations at every MVC. This will go a long way in ensuring a better patient outcome on a consistent basis.
As most operations fire departments perform, responding to an MVC is a time-sensitive task. We need to remember that while dealing with occupants who have been involved in an impact, there's a great potential for trauma.
There are procedures that can only be performed by doctors in a controlled facility. Therefore, it is imperative that occupants involved in an MVC get medical care from a trauma team as soon as possible. As rescuers, we play a vital role in the outcome. A term used in the emergency services for many years is the golden hour. This term describes the time that elapses between the moment of the patient's injury and the patient's arrival at the hospital and preparation for emergency surgery. The clock starts ticking once the injury occurs, not when the responders arrive on the scene. It is a race against time, as notification of the incident is beyond our control, as well as the overall response time needed to get a crew on the scene. The only component of the golden hour within our control is the 15 to 30 minute window from the company's first arrival on the scene and through extrication operations. Keep in mind, this is a goal, not a definitive time frame. It may not always be possible to meet the components of the 60-minute window, as MVCs present many unpredictable challenges. The only way we can be most effective with extrication is through aggressive and consistent training. In this golden hour, we have a slice of time we play an even more important role in. Upon our arrival until the patient starts moving towards definitive care in a hospital is the slice we directly play a role on impacting that patient's pre-hospital care. And in that slice of time, we need to safely, rapidly, and with a purpose always strive for a 10 to 15 minute extrication and disentanglement time, or the Platinum 10. We won't always be able to achieve this, but with the skills learned in this DVD series and training, we will have the tools to regularly meet this goal. Good trauma care starts with good BLS care, airway management, manual C-spine stabilization, application of C-collar, and oxygenation are basic BLS skills used in the initial care of a patient in an MVC. Mass hemorrhage control comes next. This is all very straightforward. However, with today's vehicles and many of the wraparound cockpit-style dashes and racing-style seats, it can be very difficult to assess and treat the patient, especially after the vehicle has absorbed the energy from the crash and has crumpled inward. When deciding how to extricate, we need to take into consideration whether the person is physically entrapped due to restricted space, and also is that person medically entrapped? Do we need to make extra space in order to minimize manipulating the patient during removal?